Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright everybody, welcome to another edition of ranking the last, in this case we have 30 plus recent reads that I've read. Now these are both books that I did ARCs, advanced reading copies, ALCs, advanced listening copies, or they were just recent releases that I got to within a decent amount of time. So I think like the oldest one is a couple months old, but it was one that I, as I just mentioned, didn't have an ARC for, but I still have read it within the last couple months. So I would still consider it a recent release type of thing. So we're going to go through these. I start with the lowest rated books and work my way up to, in this case, we do have a new 6-star read, which is so great because I'm pretty sure in the last bout of these, I didn't have a 6-star read. One of the things I've been, I didn't have any 6-star reads in the last one. I talked to my patrons about this. I have been super picky about 6-star reads this year, and I wasn't even doing it on purpose. It's just, there haven't been as many that have really been striking that right chord that I'm looking for to push me over the top. But what I'm planning to do this December, which if you're new to me this year, every year I reread my top reads of the year in December, and then I have this little rating score that I myself made up that helps me decide my top read of the year. And I always love doing that. And this year I'm going to expand it out kind of past some of my 6-star reads to my 5-star reads to see if there's any that maybe I just, maybe upon reading them again, they actually bump up to a 6-star read, because I only have, I believe, 6 5-star reads thus far. So that is how we're going to do that. But anyway, we're going to get started on this ranking. Now, one other caveat I have is that I'm not going to do a full-on like review of these, because I do talk about every single book that I read in my weekly wrap-ups, which I'll link up here. And so the ones going back the last month and a half, because August 20th was the last time I made this, so almost 2 months ago, I talk about every single book that I read. So in this one, I'm literally just doing one of those like ranking charts, but I don't do the chart. I just tell it to you. Okay. So yeah, we're going to get started. And I do have 3 books to talk about briefly that, I'm not going to tell you what their ranking is because they were, 2 of them were beta reads, which I don't rate the books that I beta read because that's not really fair to the author. And, 1 of them was a beta read, and 2 of them were books that I read for the author that I work for. And that is also someone that I don't, I don't tell you my ratings for hers. I rate them all 5 on Goodreads, and, that's because I'm usually the first one reading them, but I don't like push whatever my rating was to anyone. So let me mention those 3 ones, and then we'll get into the other rankings. So I read Writing Invisible for Noelle, which this book actually comes out on, let's see, Friday, I believe. And this is her book on writing that she did. So it will say that it's by Noelle Adams / Claire Kent, and she wrote this book that it's just about, is it only like 150 pages? I don't know, but it is about her journey to becoming a writer who isn't necessarily a best-selling author, but she is a full-time author. She talks literally about how she's been able to make millions of dollars doing what she's done, but it has been spaced over 13 years, right? So think of it that way. It's not becoming a multimillionaire overnight. It talks about her journey to being able to be full-time and how she's able to write both books that do speak to her heart, that she's proud of, but don't need to be #1 on the bestseller list. And of course, I find that absolutely fascinating because I am her fan. I am her employee. I've been reading her books for, what am I at, like 5-6 years now. And her journey to where she's at is fascinating. And it's called Writing Invisible because kind of the premise of this nonfiction tale of hers, of her sharing about her story, is that she doesn't show her face. She's not on social media much at all. In fact, I'd say about more than half, like 60% of her social media stuff is me. You know, like she still has a lot of control over it, but I do most of the interacting with people on there, and though she does do all the posting, she's very, anyway, that's just our thing or whatever. Like I set up her stuff with reviewers, and I handle her like art team, and I handle giveaway, like I handle a lot of that stuff for her, and she focuses on the writing part of it, you know, and she doesn't read reviews, and she doesn't do this and that. But anyway, I don't want to give away all of the stuff on it, but I found it really fascinating as someone who is a fan. Now, she's very convinced that only other authors will really read this book. I just don't think that's true. Well, I don't think it's going to probably be a bestseller the way, or be a hit the way some of her others are. I think if you enjoy any of her books, or you are interested in author craft, or you are just kind of fascinated how someone could do this full time without a, you know, a super hit, I think it's really fascinating. But a lot of it is just plain hard work and trying things and being willing to change up what you do. But she is able to keep her life very, very private. Like, if you find a photo of her out there, it is from many years ago. She is not seen in public. She doesn't do events. She's socially awkward. She'll tell you that herself. She's a hermit, which is very interesting, having a PA like me who just wants more and more and more. But anyway, yes, I talked about that longer than I meant to, but I don't care. She's an author that I work for, and I adore her. So that is coming out this week, actually. Then I actually read, I beta read a book for Madison Fox, which I believe she's announced the title, but I won't show you the cover because I know she hasn't shared that. But Beg for It is what it's going to be. And it is going to be a little Halloween novella that is supposed to set up the next like book series she's going to write. So the plan she's told me is for that book to still be coming out this month, but I haven't seen any more about it yet, so I don't know if it will be or not. But I did beta read that, and it was a little masked romance type of thing, a mask on Halloween type thing, and it was pretty good. And then I also read Only December from Noelle, which will be coming November. What is this one coming? November 10th or something. I can't remember when this one exactly is coming, but it is coming soon. And this will be a little holiday novella that she has coming out, which was very cute. Just finished that the other day. Okay, so those are the three that I'm not going to let you know where they fit in my rankings, though I do know where they fit based on what I rated them for myself. But as I always do then, we're going to start at the bottom of this ranking and work our way to the top. And I only had one book that I rated 3 stars, which is always good. That makes me very happy when everything is above 3 stars. But the book that I gave 3 stars was Leave Me Behind by K.M. Moranova. And this one is supposed to be a like romance reimagining, like, what's the game called, like Call of Duty or something. And I ended up, as I said, this was a 3-star, not enjoying this. It just had a very odd like vibe to it. It really felt like I didn't understand why there was a war. I didn't understand why people were fighting. I didn't understand why these two fell in love otherwise than they just wanted to hate fuck all the time. And it just was a pretty like negative to meh experience for me. I know this one was definitely eye-catching to people because of, I mean, the cover was amazing. Even the original cover, which the artwork that came with this is what was on the original cover. And it is like soldiers fighting, and it is fucking your partner, and they hate you and want to get rid of you. And so there's a lot of angst. There was a lot of hate fucking. There was a lot of kink in here. A heroine who basically wants to be punished because she hates herself. So there's definitely a lot of fodder for people to enjoy about it. It just was not vibing for me. Was not my finest thing to read. But yeah, so that one was a 3-star. Okay, moving right along to the 3.5 stars, of which I had 3 of those. So there was All Our Broken Vows by Maya Moore. Now this one I did not dislike, and this is why 3.5 stars are always tough. And when it is a book that is gifted to me by an author, or it's an ARC or something like that, I'm usually, when it's a 3.5, it's getting rounded up to a 4-star. And that is what this one was. I just felt like they all fell in love a bit too quick, because this one was a polyamorous relationship. It's a married couple that is kind of going through a rough patch, and then a friend ends up moving in with them who's also becoming a single parent, and things go towards the sexy very quickly. So I had a good time with it. I thought the writing was pretty good. There was a lot of themes that I love. I don't mind at all a married couple that brings someone into it. I've read plenty of those. I enjoy them. But in this case, like, I didn't feel that the marriage in trouble part was like why they were having a marriage in trouble. I didn't understand. And then because of that, I didn't understand how adding a third person just like fixed everything without therapy or without like working that out. Like, I just don't think that's how it works. But I mean, it is romance and it's sexy, so we're just supposed to go along with it. And I'm the type of person that I expect a lot out of erotic romance. I don't like when it just gets used as a reason to write erotic scenes, okay? And I did a whole talk on that just recently about Bitterburn, which, yes, Bitterburn's going to show up in this video too, because I just read it. But that was kind of where I was let down. But I did enjoy it, and I do want to read more of that author again. So, yeah, that was my first one by that author too, which wasn't bad. Another 3.5 star was The Gilded Heiress by Joanna Shupe. And this one really did kind of feel like a letdown. So like this 3.5 stars kind of the like it on the sad end of it for me, because this one was, you know, there hasn't been a Joanna Shupe novel in a while. She also writes the Mafia Romance, so those have been coming out. But this one was still done by a trad publisher, and they gave it a trad pub size release. It wasn't a mass markets aren't going to be being printed anymore, which is a huge bummer. By the way, I will always be sad about that. But yeah, it was just a letdown that this was an Anastasia retelling. It has all the hallmarks of that, except it's set in Gilded Age, like New York, Gilded Age United States up there. And I just didn't, this is another one that like the romance, I didn't understand how it budded the way it did. But yeah, we have an heiress who has gotten lost, and now she wants to be a singer. And our hero, when he was a young boy, his father actually worked at the place where the baby went missing, and he got blamed as the dad got blamed as the reason that the child was kidnapped, and then it ruined the family. And so this hero now wants revenge against that family. So he wants to find a woman to be the fake heiress and like get one over on them, you know? So yeah, it was just a whole messy thing. Like, it was a whole messy thing. And I just didn't care for it. And I've read Joanna Shupe do much, much better than this. So I was just disappointed. And then the other 3.5 star is another one that I just read, which was Until the Heart Stops by Jillian Eliza. And this one was sold as like a Twilight meets Pride and Prejudice. And I don't think that the world building was very well done. I don't think that the romance was very well done. And I just, yeah, that one just didn't work. Like I said, we're moving right along through some of these. That one just didn't work for me. I was very disappointed, and I'm realizing that I don't know how much I actually like Jillian Eliza's books, because I liked Ruin, but I didn't like the second half of that duology, which means in general I didn't like the whole story then. And then this one was also just strange, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what she writes next, and we'll see how I feel then. Okay, moving on to 4 stars, of which, of course, I have a whole bunch. I have 14 that I gave 4 stars to. So, rolling through some of these. There was Wicked Ends by Mila Kane. This one was a dark college hockey romance with one of the hockey players and his professor. Actually, there is a part-time professor who comes in, and she's also a woman on the run. The only thing is, she learns the first day of class that the man that she just left sleeping in the bed from the one night stand they had is now one of her students, and he wants to blackmail her into continuing to sleep with him. Fun times were had by many in that. There was Duplicity by Elodie Hart, and this is one that I had an ALC for it, and I was really excited about it because I did enjoy book 1. But the thing is that this is a series about sex workers. They may be high-class serif girls who do it for a lot of money, but it is a story about sex workers. And we had a heroine who is a single mom. She needs to make money so that her daughter can have a surgery. And so she basically lies about being into kink. She ends up being into some kink, but she lies about being into kink so that the guy that wants to hire her will hire her. He already thinks that she's very beautiful. He knows her from before. So when he finds out she works for Seraph, he is like, gimme that girl. I want to fuck her. But she lies about a lot of the stuff that she's into. And then when he expects her to do some of the things that she said okay to on her entry form, he then gets made out to be this perverted bad guy. And I'm like, whether you, the reader, actually, like the sexy thing that he's into, whatever. But I'm sorry, I don't want to be thinking while I'm reading a romance that, like, girl, he's paying you to do this. I know that's so bad. But when you're reading a romance about a sex worker, like, you don't want to be thrown out of the story that way, because let's be honest, there's not a ton that's actually sexy about being a sex worker, all right? And I, of course, believe there are many, many, many women that are either A, forced to do this, or B, they do choose to do it, but they do it reluctantly. There is a very small amount of people who do it because they like to do it, okay? And within the romance reading community, those of us who enjoy reading sex worker romance, we usually want to read about the section of people that want to be doing it, okay? Because it is a fantasy to be reading about it, okay? If we were ever really truly put in that position in our real lives, we probably would not like it or choose it, okay? And in Duplicity, like, I just didn't like how we were reminded of that. I'm sorry, I didn't. That's not my choice. And then I didn't like how the heroine, she had someone who loves her offering to pay for that surgery. And instead, she did something she didn't want to do. And then when the hero asked her to do the thing she didn't want to do, she didn't use her safe word to get out of it. She did the thing he asked her to do and then was like, what a fucking pervert. I hate him. Anyway, yeah, I've said enough. Duplicity, I should have given even less than I did, but I did listen to an ALC, and I loved the ALC because that series is narrated by Shane and Zara, and they're great, but that one was rough. Okay, next there was The Marchioness Overnight by Emmy West, and this was one that the 4-star, this was pretty good to me. And this is one actually of a forced marriage because the heroine thinks she is about to marry someone else. Someone is just about to propose to her when her father hasn't returned from the Napoleonic Wars, I believe is the wars we're dealing with. And one of the comrades that her father knew had actually gotten him to marry his daughter by proxy because he thought he was going to die in the war and he wanted his wife and child taken care of. And so now this scarred hero has returned from the war and he's demanding his wife. And what he doesn't know is that this woman that he's married by proxy, she actually had a crush on him many years ago, and he ruined her prospects at love with a few careless words that he said. And so she hates this guy, and now she's married off to him. But he makes her a deal because he thinks no one will ever want to be with him because he's a scarred hero and he's oh so ugly now. He's like, you just have to stay with me until we have an heir and a spare, and then you can go on your way. Nobody really thinking about the fact that, making an heir and a spare could take decades. What if you get 5 girls first? You have no idea. But anyway, this was pretty cute. This one was narrated by, I believe this was duet narrated. I might be wrong about that. I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm just reading off this, but this was John Lane was the male narrator, and he was wonderful as a historical one here. But yeah, enjoyed this one a good amount, and I definitely plan to read more of this author's books. I think that Must Love Audio is going to be getting more of these ones to review. Okay, then we had Saving the Rain by Elliot Rose. This one is all right for me. This, I think I was most anticipating this one. This was an like ex-stepbrother romance. And they're also both Bronc writers. So yeah, this was Casey and Rain. And I just ended up being a bit underwhelmed by this one. This is another series that I consider it erotic romance. And this was also kind of a dark cowboy thing as well. And I just didn't like how Rain treated Casey. And I didn't like what his reasons for being resentful of Casey were. He's very cruel to Casey when they were kids, when they were stepbrothers. And I mean, I don't think Casey was perfect either, but he certainly didn't deserve how things played out. And their love felt very lust-based through the whole thing as well. And I feel like Elliot Rose did a better job with the previous ones in this series, particularly books 1 and 2. Book 3 I didn't like as much either, but yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Okay, then there was The Spite Date by Pippa Grant. This was my first Pippa Grant that I read. And she very kindly, I got sent a copy of this one, which was so cute. This one is Simon and Bee, and this was a wealthy actor hero who is a single dad of twins, twin boys, and they definitely cause some trouble. And then we have our heroine who runs a food truck, and she was actually like, she wasn't a single mom, but she kind of was, because she basically raised her brothers when I believe both of their parents died. So Simon Lockwood is in this small town, and he's trying to work on his next show that he is creating for his network, and he starts to fall for this heroine. And when his boys cause some problems for the heroine, Simon steps in and offers to, I believe they like fake date to help her reputation around town, or at least it's an apology date. I don't know if they even fake date. I think it's like for one event they're supposed to fake date and then it becomes more. But this one was really cute. It was very long for a rom-com, but there were some really fun characters in it, and the narration was great in this one. So I definitely would read more in this series for sure. There was also Only for Tonight by Natasha Madison, and this one was their families are friends, but they haven't really been friends, but when they meet again after all these years at a family get-together, they end up having a one-night stand, which leads to an accidental pregnancy, and then it's these two trying to work it out. Now, there was a lot of potential for me to absolutely adore this one, but what kind of held it back is that they constantly doubted the other person, and they were fighting at every turn. So it was just very strange, because I thought this was going to be like an accidental pregnancy, like friends to lovers, but it really was a very lust-based, oops, we're accidentally pregnant, let's raise the baby together, I want to be together, and also they doubted the other person at every turn. So it was just very, possibly more realistic than some cases might be, but it also just, it rubbed me the wrong way at points. There were some very touching scenes though, so I didn't hate this by any means, and I think I'll probably continue with this series as well. So the audiobook was very good. Okay, there was Axing for Trouble by Daphne Elliott. And this one was, I believe, the 4th book in the main Lumberjack series is what it is. And this one had a bit of a suspense going on in it. And this one included this woman who was this undercover journalist who gets outed at the beginning. She'd been undercover working with this biker gang to uncover some corruption and some bad things going on. And at the beginning of the book, she gets outed. And so she has to go on the run. Or not on the run, but she has to hide. And so she ends up going back to the house of the guy that she had a one-night stand with. And it turns out that this family is also trying to bring down some corruption in this small town. And so she ends up hiding out there with the guy that she'd had a one-night stand with. And he now knows that she had like lied about what her name was and who she is and what her real purpose is. However, once him and his family learn like why she'd lied to him, they're definitely willing to help her out and figure out what's going on. So there definitely were some positives to that for sure. Okay, there was Soft Tissue Damage by Lilith Vincent. I just talked about this one a whole bunch in a few different videos because Lilith Vincent always writes really over-the-top ones. This one is actually a boyfriend's dad romance. And yes, there are a few things that happen when she is still dating his son. It's Lilith Vincent, but so I'll leave that up to you. This also includes like breeding kink. This is also a nanny and single dad romance. Big age gap, of course, and also the guy is a bit of a hitman slash like serial killer type vibe going on. So lots of intense stuff there. Then there was Bad for Business by Kat Singleton. This one involved this wealthy guy who's the son of an even wealthier guy. And he had kind of messed up the family image. And so they hire a publicist to help fix everything. And the goal of the publicist, who our heroine gets assigned to basically live with him while they're in the Hamptons to help rehabilitate his image. Things are wild in this one. Oh my gosh. And so these two had also had a one-night stand before she ends up working for him as well. But yeah, this one I felt like not a lot happened in it. And it was just a lot of them bickering with each other until they finally fucked again, which is fine, it has its place. But I just didn't feel like I really knew the characters by the end of it. So I've read better is kind of the thing. Beyond the Blue Horizon, which was just a recent release from A.L. Jackson. This one, again, I talked a lot about on my most recent wrap-up of it here. This one, I actually feel like the reason I gave it 4 stars was the narration, which I know that won't bother a lot of people because you'll read it with your eyes, but I was reviewing the audiobook, and the audiobook, the narration choices made by the female narrator completely ruined the heroine for me because she was narrated in this absolutely whiny and stressed out way for the whole book. Okay. And this book is almost 500 pages. So it was just, it got on my nerves. Okay. There's no other way to say it. It got on my nerves. I'm sorry. It's the truth. Okay. It did. But this one is book 4 in the Moonlit Ridge. And so if you've been liking the Moonlit Ridge and you don't listen to the audiobooks, I think you're going to love this. Okay. I was bummed out. But this one is about Theo, who actually owns the Sanctuary Motel, which is where this group of these bikers who run kind of this underground organization called the Sanctorum, where they rescue women and children from domestic abuse situations. And each member of the biker group, this former biker group that now does this, they do a job. So one of them gets the new ID, one of them does the extraction, one of them provides cover electronically, one of them tracks the abuser to make sure they stay out of the way, and Theo offers them a place to stay. And so when he comes across, this one is Piper and her little boy, Finn, and her grandmother, he gives them one of the spots at the motel that is this cabin that's all set up and safe, because he can tell they're in trouble somehow. He isn't 100% sure that it's the same thing that the other women and children they've rescued is, but he has a feeling, and he's definitely right about that. So yeah. And that means, too, he doesn't want to fall in love because they're not supposed to fall in love and blah, 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 all of that. But, again, this was really great. I loved the story itself. I honestly wish I hadn't listened to the audiobook, which I can't help it. I listen to every audiobook from A.L. Jackson, and usually the audiobooks are the reason why I love the book so much, right? So it's a give and take. If I'm reading a series for the audiobooks and then one of the audiobooks isn't good, I have to rate it accordingly. So again, if you don't listen to those ones, I think it's probably the best one in the series. But as it is, I think for me, the first and the third one are like my favorites in the series, because I liked everything about those ones. All right, just 2 more 4-star reads here. There was Take This Heart by Willow Astor, which I actually just finished. Well, of course, these last 2 I just finished. And this one I'm super excited about because it takes place on the North Shore of Minnesota. Yep, my Minnesota comes out as soon as I say that. It takes place in Minneapolis. It takes place, Duluth is mentioned a lot, and it takes place in this place now called Windy Harbor, which is, if you live along the North Shore, you maybe know which town she is trying to name this after. I loved all the references to places that I've been. Caribou Coffee gets mentioned, which if you guys are around me at all or have watched vlogs and stuff, like Caribou Coffee is where I work from most of the time. I'm actually a influencer for Caribou Coffee, so I get free coffees sometimes and discounts and stuff, which is amazing. So I just felt right at home in it. But yeah, in this one, it's actually an architect and interior designer who are kind of clashing with one another at this, at their jobs in Minneapolis. And then she gets called home. All of her brothers get called home for a visit with their dad, where their dad informs them that he wants to build this, like, not a resort, but it's really hard to describe, but it's going to be called Wind Haven. And it's going to be this, like, community place / vacation place / something to uplift the community. And he is going to be buying some land, and he wants all of his kids to help make it happen. And they're all like, Dad, we don't want to take this on, da 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 da. And who should be there, who's going to partner with them, but Milo, the hero. And now the heroine really doesn't want this to happen because she is like, I already deal with this guy at my work in Minneapolis. I don't want to deal with him here. But he's partnered with, I believe the dad's name is Everett. And Everett really likes Milo, and he wants him to be the one to, like, design the buildings and everything. But then the kids who are all like, Dad, not yet. Like, we got our own life stuff going on. Like, one of the sons plays in sport. One of the sons, like, is a chef. One of them, like, is a single dad. So there's all these different stuff they have going on. But then the dad reveals that he has cancer. And he's like, I want us to build this together and it to be our legacy together, that we've built something that will last, that will bring our community together. So yeah, there's all of that set up. Milo wants to help, but what Milo ends up finding out is that his uncle has a feud with this family. Now, Milo is his mother's son, who is the connection to that family. So his last name doesn't reflect the name of the family feud, as it were. And Milo doesn't even understand why there's a feud. No one's really explained it to him. And he really likes Everett. So when his uncle tries to get into town and steal this land away, Milo is actually like, dude, no, you don't have a reason for taking this away. And he's like, well, there's a feud. You don't understand. And he's like, no, I don't. And you're not explaining it to me. And I don't have any reason not to care about these people. But the question is, will Everett's family and Goldie, who is our heroine, will they care about it? We'll find out. Okay, and then the last 4-star read I had was Love Deep by Louise Bay. And this one is another small town romance with a billionaire who comes in. In this case, he is a like record producer. And he's in town because one of his artists has fallen in love, and that is where she wants to record her next album. And so he comes to town to just be there advising, and he meets our heroine, who is a single mom, and they start to fall. But he's only going to be in town for a couple months while this album gets recorded, so they can't have more than a fling because his life is in New York and hers is in Colorado, and they just can't have anything. But of course, their chemistry they have with each other and the nosy people in this small town are not going to let them get away with that so easily. All right. And this one was really cute. I used to read a lot of Louise Bay. Actually, I've read quite a few, but I haven't in a while. I actually was gifted Love Hard, which I haven't gotten around to, and I feel so bad about that. But this one, the audiobook was available through must love audio. And so, of course, that made it easier for me to get. And now I definitely want to go back and read the first one. I'll grab the audiobook for that one. Okay, next we have 5 4.5 stars. So there was Ravaged Wolf by K.C. Wells. This one I talked in depth about when I read this one. This is a part of the 5 Packs series, and this one involves 2 young people who they're fated mates, and their families actually keep them apart at a very crucial time in the mating bond, and it leads to an absolute tragedy. And then we skip ahead a few years, and we see them trying to come back to one another and see if they have the chance at a future after all that has transpired. And I thought this was very beautifully handled. It really, really was. There was Ecstasy of Sin, which I've talked about oodles amount of time, so I don't want to crack on about here, but I enjoyed this so much. This is a dark romance, not quite Mafia at all, though I think one of the books in the series will, but this is the one that has the really great migraine rep on it, and Kay Allister is a friend of the channel. I love mentioning that whenever I can. That makes me so happy. And this is book 1 in the Brutal Brotherhood. And this one involves our heroine, who is homeless or unhoused at the beginning of the story. And a lot of it is due to her chronic illness of migraines, where she cannot hold a job or afford medication that she so desperately needs. And our hero is a bit of a vigilante killer who, once he sets his sights on her, can't help himself. And he kind of becomes her knight in dark armor, her dark knight in a way. And I loved this one a whole lot. It's great. Good Girl Effect. This is the first book in the Salacious Legacy series from Sarah Kate, and this one is about Jack St. Clair, who is who is the son of Eden St. Clair, and Camille Aubert, sorry, this takes place in French, so I'm sure I just butchered that, who becomes a nanny to Jack and his daughter, and there's also rope bondage involved and teaching her some kink. And our hero is a widower who doesn't think he deserves to love again. So there's all that angsty goodness that we got going on with this couple as well. There was Sweetest Sin by Nikki Ash, which is the start of a new series from her. And this one involves an air flight attendant and a, let's just say, a less than reputable businessman. And these two have a weekend fling together, and then the hero gets called away to handle some family business that ends up involving him taking over some of the family's dirty business. And when he reaches back out to the heroine to, apologize for leaving from their weekend fling, he basically gets rejected by her because she had found out that he was involved in dirty business, let's just say. But not mafia, because Nikki Ash is very particular that this is not mafia. But when you read the story, you tell me what it feels like, okay? But either way, this is a secret child romance, and eventually he's going to find out, and then we will see how a bit peed off he is that she's kept his child from him. However, her reasons for doing so, I think, are mostly legitimate based on the work that he does. I can't pretend that I don't understand why she was like, not sure if this is for me with you around our kid, but it does have a happily ever after. You'll see it. You'll see it eventually there. And then the other 4.5 star I had was My Favorite Hero from Melanie Moreland, which is a neighbor / tenant and landlord situation. Our heroine is a computer programmer. Our hero is a firefighter. It is a grumpy sunshine. It is their pets become best friends before they can even stand each other. It is he keeps showing up and rescuing her, sometimes when she really needs rescuing and sometimes when she is just like, dude, just leave me alone. yeah, this couple was so much fun, so full of fire and everything. And I just love some of the pictures that the author included in here. These two are so sexy together. I love them. But yeah, this is a wonderful romance, small town. The town's really rooting for them to get together. Pretty low angst. The heroine isn't great at trusting people, so that is a lot of what it is. But this hero, once he gets over his grumpiness, he absolutely falls head over heels. This one absolutely belongs in the, you know, maybe she falls first, but he falls harder type of thing. They kind of mutually fall, but like he falls really hard for her. And again, their pets are the best of friends. Like we created a dog and cat door so they can see each other, even if we can't stand one another type of thing. Like, that's my catnip, pun intended, okay? I love it. All right, and then we have 6 5-star reads, which is just wonderful. Make me happy, why don't you? So we had Chasing Forever from Piper and Rain. This is book 4 in Plain Daisy Ranch, and this one involves kind of a brother's ex-fiance, and our heroine and him actually get accidentally married at one of their other like families' weddings. Like, they get married in Vegas, and the hero has always wanted her, and so he refuses to give her an annulment too easily. He really pushes her to give him a chance. It's been a long time since she broke up with his brother, but the thing is like his family, not just his brother, but like his parents did her real dirty. So she is not really eager to work things out. She would rather them just get this annulment. The town doesn't need to know about it. Just let it go. And he's like, nope, you got to give me dates first. You got to give me 4 dates. That can't be more than 1 a week. And give me a chance to convince you we should be together. And, you know, he's going to do it. So I found this to be very romantic. I loved this couple together. And, yeah, I just think it was really beautiful. And Piper and Rain do small town romance very well. Okay, then there was Undeniably Corrupt by Jay Shaman. And this one was a like teenage romance second chance. Our heroine is now a single mom to a child who was not his. It's been 10 years since they've seen each other, when her brother actually died, and he was best friends with her brother, and they were forced apart. And now many years later, like I said, she has like a 3-year-old kid, and he owns a cybersecurity business, and she actually becomes like his assistant there. Well, she's going to nursing school, and she ends up also like living with him because where she's living isn't safe. And then he falls for her and her child, and we slowly unravel what broke them apart when they were kids. And now we see them back together again as well, which is just so good. Like this one was so good. Loved it. Okay. Then we have 3 that I've wait. Yes, we have 3 that I've talked about a whole bunch, so we'll just go right through these ones. There was Alchemized, which I did an entire vlog about. This, I know, isn't for everyone. I do now have my Waterstones edition, though, which is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, this was a dark, dystopian, high fantasy with a very important romance subplot / it's important to the plot. But I wouldn't call this just a straight up fantasy romance. There is a lot more going on in it as well. But I was very moved by it. It was very dark, very heavy, but with some hope for the future at the end, which is all we can wish for, right? So yeah, I have an entire vlog of this, as well as my September wrap up has more details on this as well. So beautiful. I love that tissue. There was also Bitter Burn, which was book 3 in the Lioness trilogy. It wrapped everything up so well, but also tried to tear your guts out multiple times as well. Very sexy, very intense, very Sierra Simone. The best there is of erotic romance. That's what she writes. This was excellent. And then When We Blush, which was this absolutely beautiful NICU nurse and doctor. They have a one-night stand, and then a few months later, she actually moves to the small town where he works because she also has family there. And she ends up working at the hospital that he works at part-time. And he's like, this is my chance. I haven't stopped thinking about this girl. We've got to be together. It's a thing. And she's like, I don't think so. I don't think it'll work. I'm not looking for anything serious. And he's like, girl, you're missing out. We need to be. And, you know, he convinces her, let's just say. But absolutely love Kristen Proby. I love this series so much. It was so good. And then my 6-star read, which y'all maybe have guessed by now, or I mean, I've talked about it already, but it was Wild Card by Elsie Silver. And this one was a ex-boyfriend's dad, but he met her first. And now they're actually living in the same house, taking care of their mutual friend, seeing each other all the time, feeling the forbidden feels, and each interaction just ratchets the tension higher and higher and higher until we're ready to crack. The hero is a hotshot firefighter, fights with planes, and she is a yoga instructor, an absolute light and a joy. I just love them so much. And yeah, this was a 6-star read that just will not be lightly forgotten for sure. One of my favorites of the year, absolutely. So well done, for sure. So there you go, everybody. Those were the ranking of the last, what was I at, 32? I think it's 32 recent reads of mine. And from the least to the greatest, I'll have links to all of these down below if you'd like to purchase any of them. And let me know what your favorite recent reads were from August, September, October going on. I'll be back in a couple more months. Well, I guess it'll be probably the end of the year with another bout of recent faves. So, thank you so much for watching, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.